No one raised their voice. No one stepped between them. But the entire soundstage stopped breathing. Jackie Chan stood there, young, confident, still catching his breath from a move meant to impress. Bruce Lee didn't respond right away. He didn't argue. He didn't correct him. He simply looked at him. Lights hummed overhead. A camera stopped rolling. Someone lowered a clipboard without realizing it. 40 people watched a moment stretch longer than it should have. Jackie had said the words out loud. Not joking, not rehearsing. I said better. What followed was sip the fight. There was no shouting, no strike, no spectacle, just 8 seconds. And when those seconds ended, something in that room was gone forever. Pride, certainty, innocence, no one could quite tell. The sound stage was already loud before the words were spoken. Metal stands clinked, lights hummed. Someone laughed near the monitors. It was an ordinary morning in the middle of an ordinary shoot. Then the sentence landed. Not shouted, not announced, just said clearly enough to be heard. I sip in better. It took a moment for anyone to understand what had just happened. The sentence didn't belong there. It didn't match the rhythm of the room. Jackie Chan stood a few steps away from Bruce Lee, chest rising and falling from a movement he had just finished. Sweat darkened the collar of his shirt. His posture was open, confident, not aggressive, not mocking, just certain. Bruce didn't answer. He didn't turn away either. He looked at Jackie the way a person looks when they are deciding whether a moment matters. Someone near the lights stopped adjusting a dial. A cable slipped from a technician's hand and hit the floor unnoticed. The background noise thinned, not all at once, but unevenly, like breath being held by different people at different times. Jackie realized too late how quiet it had become. He shifted his weight slightly, the way young men do when they sense attention turning toward them. His face still carried confidence, but something underneath it tightened. The sentence had already left his mouth. He couldn't retrieve it, couldn't soften it. Bruce Lee placed his notes down on a nearby crate. The movement was small, deliberate, unrushed. That alone changed the room. Bruce stepped forward once, then stopped. No anger showed on his face, no irritation. His expression was neutral, almost gentle, but his stillness pulled focus in a way shouting never could. Jackie swallowed. No one told the crew to stop working, yet no one continued. Even the extras, waiting off to the side, had gone quiet. They stood frozen in costume, watching something unscripted take shape. Bruce stood there, hands relaxed at his sides. He said nothing. Seconds passed, not many, but enough. Jackie's confidence, which moments earlier had felt solid, began to thin. He had spoken from pride, not malice, from hunger, not disrespect. But standing there now with 40 pairs of eyes fixed on him, and one pair refusing to blink, he felt exposed. Bruce tilted his head slightly. Not a challenge, not approval, an invitation. Jackie felt it. He took a breath, preparing to speak again, to explain himself, to clarify what he had meant. But Bruce raised one hand, not sharply. Not to silence him, just enough. That stopped him. Bruce stepped closer. The distance between them shortened to a few feet, close enough that Jackie could see the calm in his eyes. Not superiority, not threat, control. Bruce's voice, when it came, was quiet, almost conversational. Show me. 2 words, nothing else. No lecture, no correction, no warning. The room leaned forward without moving. Jackie hesitated, only for a fraction of a second. Backing down now would feel worse than stepping forward. He nodded once, more to himself than to Bruce. He took a step back. The space cleared instinctively. No one directed it. People simply moved. Whatever this was, it had already passed the point of being casual. And somewhere in that silence, before anything happened, Jackie understood something he hadn't expected. The sentence he had spoken was being judged. It was being tested. The space between them felt wider than the soundstage itself. Jackie stood where he was, arms loose at his sides, waiting. He could feel his pulse in his neck. The crew had formed a rough circle without realizing it, bodies angled inward, attention pulled toward the center as if by gravity. Bruce Lee hadn't moved since saying those 2 words. Show me. He didn't adjust his stance, didn't try to raise his guard, didn't sit in signal readiness. That unsettled people more than aggression ever could. A director near the monitors glanced at the clock on his wrist, then back at the floor, unsure whether time was still moving the way it was supposed to. Someone cleared their throat and immediately regretted it. The sound landed too loudly, breaking the fragile quiet, and then the silence closed again. Jackie shifted his feet, testing the ground. Concrete, hard, unforgiving. He had worked on sets like this his whole life. He knew how to fall, knew how to move, so the camera loved him. None of that comfort was there now. This wasn't set rehearsal. Bruce finally stepped forward again, just enough to recenter the space. His movements were economical, nothing wasted. Each step seemed to erase something unnecessary from the room. He stopped. Jackie noticed something then. Bruce's breathing hadn't changed. Not faster, not deeper, calm, as if nothing unusual was happening at all. That calm spread outward. The crew's tension didn't vanish, but it shifted. The excitement drained out, replaced by something heavier. Attention sharpened. Even the extras, men hired to fall and be forgotten, watched with the seriousness of witnesses. Bruce looked around once, not to assert authority, just to acknowledge where he was. Then his eyes returned to Jackie. Jackie felt smaller, not because Bruce loomed over him, but because Bruce didn't. There was no performance in Bruce's posture, no signal that this was meant to impress. It felt private despite the audience. Jackie realized the room had already chosen sides, not out of loyalty, but instinct. People lean toward stillness when it carries weight. Bruce said nothing more. He didn't need to. Jackie rolled his shoulders once, loosening tension that had crept in without permission. His training told him to move, to fill the silence, to do something bold. Silence on camera was death. Silence in front of others felt worse. But this silence was different. It wasn't just empty. It pressed. A young assistant director glanced toward Bruce, then away, like a person looking at something too bright. A lighting technician lowered his head slightly, not in submission but respect. No one spoke. No one interrupted. Bruce's gaze never left Jackie. Jackie felt heat rise to his face. Not embarrassment yet, something closer to anticipation, mixed with uncertainty. He had wanted to be seen, now he was. Fully, without filters, Bruce took one final step, stopping close enough that Jackie could see the fine lines at the corner of his eyes, not from age, from focus, from attention. Still no words. The room held, and in that held breath, something irreversible had already happened. Whatever came next would not be about proving who was better. It would be about revealing what was real. Jackie had learned early how to move. Before he learned patience, before restraint, before silence, his body knew motion the way some people know language. Leaping, turning, falling, these were not decisions for him. They were instinct. Years of training had carved them into muscle and bone until movement felt like the most honest way to speak. On sets, movement earned attention. Directors noticed height. Cameras loved speed. Audiences remembered spectacle. Jackie had grown up inside that truth. He had been small, fast, eager, the kind of performer who filled empty space because he didn't know how to stand still inside it. When he moved, people watched. When he didn't, he disappeared. That fear still lived in him. Standing across from Bruce Lee now, Jackie felt it stir. The need to justify himself. The need to show that his confidence wasn't empty, that his words hadn't been foolish. He glanced briefly at the floor, then back up. Bruce hadn't changed position, hadn't shifted weight, hadn't signaled impatience. It was as if he were waiting for Jackie to decide who he was going to be next. Jackie inhaled. In his mind, he wasn't challenging a master. He wasn't being reckless. He was defending something fragile, his place, his effort, the years spent throwing himself onto hard ground so others could shine. He stepped back again, measuring distance. The movement drew a subtle reaction from the room. Not excitement, anticipation sharpened into focus. People leaned without leaning. Jackie's jaw tightened. He nodded once, committing. This was the moment he understood. If he failed, it would be public. If he succeeded, it would still belong to someone else. He chose movement anyway. His body responded instantly, grateful to escape the stillness. A run-up, clean acceleration, muscles aligning with practiced precision. He launched upward, rotation smooth, controlled. In the air, everything made sense. Gravity obeyed rules, timing was predictable. He landed lightly, flowed forward. Another motion followed without pause. Seamless, rehearsed, beautiful. For a brief second, the room reacted. Not loudly, just enough. A murmur, a shift. The instinctive response spectacle always earned. Jackie felt it. Relief flickered. He finished his sequence and straightened, chest rising faster now. Sweat traced a line down his temple. He looked at Bruce, searching for something. Approval, reaction, resistance. Bruce hadn't moved. Not during the run. Not during the leap. Not during the landing. He stood where he had been, eyes steady, breath unchanged. Jackie's sips relief faltered. The silence returned, heavier than before. The brief murmur vanished as if it had never existed. Jackie became aware of how much space his movements had needed, how much time they had taken. Bruce looked at him, not impressed, not dismissive, curious, as if Jackie had just finished speaking in a language Bruce understood very well and found unnecessary. Jackie opened his mouth to say something. Bruce lifted his hand slightly, just enough. Jackie stopped. In that pause, Jackie realized the truth he hadn't wanted to see. Everything he had done required room. Bruce required none. Bruce stepped forward. Not suddenly, not aggressively, just enough to change the balance of the room. Jackie felt it immediately. The air shifted, not because Bruce closed the distance quickly, but because he did it without hesitation. There was no preparation, no adjustment, no signal that anything was about to happen. Bruce stopped 3 feet away, close enough to feel presence, far enough to leave choice. Jackie's instincts flared. Years of training told him to react, to reset his stance, to move, to do something. But Bruce hadn't attacked. He hadn't threatened. He hadn't even raised his hands. So Jackie stayed still. That stillness cost him more effort than any movement had. Bruce looked at him, eyes steady, expression neutral. No judgment, no challenge. Just attention, complete and undivided. The kind of attention that strips away performance. The room followed Bruce Sipp's lead. No one spoke. No one shifted. No one reached for a camera or called for marks. This wasn't set being staged. Bruce tilted his head slightly, as if examining a detail others had missed. Jackie noticed his own breathing had grown louder in his ears. He tried to slow it, failed, tried again. Bruce raised one hand. Not high, not fast, just enough to mark space. Jackie's shoulders tensed. His body prepared for contact that didn't come. Bruce Sepp's hand stopped in the air, inches away. Then he lowered it. Nothing happened. And somehow that was worse. Jackie realized something, with a quiet jolt. Bruce wasn't reacting to what he had just seen. He was reacting to Jackie himself, to his timing, to his impatience, to the way he filled silence instead of listening to it. Bruce took one step to the side, not away, across. The movement was small, almost casual, but it changed the geometry between them. Jackie turned instinctively to keep Bruce in front of him. Bruce noticed. That was the moment. Bruce moved. There was no wind-up, no shift of weight Jackie could read in time. One moment Bruce was standing still, the next he wasn't where Jackie expected him to be. Jackie turned sharply, too late. Bruce was already there. Not striking, not grabbing, just standing behind him. Jackie froze. Bruce's open hand rested lightly at the base of Jackie's neck. No pressure, no force. Just contact. A placement so precise it felt deliberate rather than accidental. The room inhaled. Jackie's mind raced to catch up with what his body already knew. He hadn't seen Bruce move, hadn't felt him pass, hadn't sensed the moment he lost position. In a different context, that hand could have ended everything. Bruce removed it immediately and stepped back to where he had started. Same distance, same posture, same calm. Jackie turned slowly, heat flooding his face. He didn't need to be told what had happened. His body understood before his pride could argue. Bruce met his eyes. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He waited. The silence stretched again, thicker now, charged with understanding that didn't require explanation. Around them, people stood perfectly still, aware they had witnessed something they couldn't quite describe. Jackie swallowed hard. Whatever this had been, it wasn't a demonstration meant to impress. It was a revelation, and it wasn't finished. Bruce didn't step away. He didn't press forward either. He stayed exactly where he was, as if the moment had settled into him and decided to remain. His posture didn't change after the contact. The calm didn't sharpen, it didn't soften. It held. Jackie felt the weight of it immediately. Not the hand that had already left his neck, but the space where it had been, his skin still registered the memory. Light, precise, unavoidable. Bruce's eyes stayed on him. Again, Bruce said quietly. Not a command, not a challenge. An opening. Jackie hesitated. The room noticed. It was a small pause, barely a breath long, but it carried more meaning than any movement before it. In that pause, Jackie weighed something he had never had to weigh on a set, whether to perform or to engage. He chose movement. Jackie stepped in fast, closing distance before thought could interfere. His body did what it had always done when pressure arrived. Speed, rotation, commitment. A strike meant to overwhelm, not calculate. Bruce wasn't sit there. Not gone, just not where Jackie aimed. Bruce shifted his position with the smallest adjustment, feet sliding instead of stepping. No wasted effort. Jackie's momentum carried past empty space. Jackie turned, already launching the next technique. His timing was sharp, his execution clean. He felt confident again for a fraction of a second. Bruce raised one hand. The strike dissolved. Not blocked, redirected. Jackie felt his own arm guided aside, not forced, not stopped, simply no longer dangerous. The sensation was disorienting. He wasn't being resisted. He was being led. He tried again. Another movement, another commitment, another moment where he left the ground. Bruce waited. The kick passed through air. Before Jackie landed, Bruce was already beside him, close enough that Jackie felt breath near his ribs. A touch followed, firm this time, but still restrained, just enough to register. Jackie stumbled a half step on landing. Bruce stepped back immediately. No follow-up. No punishment. Jackie's chest rose sharply. 8 seconds had passed, not more. He knew because his body felt it. The short burst of effort. The sudden exhaustion that came not from effort, but from understanding. He had attacked. Bruce had not. Yet every exchange had belonged to Bruce. Jackie stood still now, breathing hard. Sweat slid down his neck. His arms felt heavier than they should have. Not tired, uncertain. Bruce looked at him steadily. He didn't explain, didn't summarize. Didn't ask if Jackie understood. He didn't need to. The room had changed again. This time, not with shock, but clarity. The tension that had filled the space earlier had thinned, replaced by something quieter and heavier, respect without celebration, understanding without applause. Jackie lowered his hands slowly. For the first time since the morning began, he didn't feel the urge to move. The need to impress was gone, replaced by something colder and more honest. He looked at Bruce and nodded once. Not in victory, not in defeat, in recognition. Bruce returned the nod, nothing else. But that small acknowledgement landed harder than any strike could have. And in that silence, something settled into place that Jackie would carry with him long after the room returned to noise. Bruce lowered his hands. That was it. No instruction followed. No correction. No explanation of what had just happened. The absence of response landed heavier than anything he could have said. Jackie stood where he was, arms hanging at his sides, chest still rising too fast. He waited for something. Approval, dismissal, judgment, none came. Bruce turned slightly, not away from Jackie, but away from the moment, a subtle signal that whatever needed to be shown had already been shown. Jackie felt the shift immediately. This wasn't said about winning. It hadn't been about proving anything. Bruce had stopped short on purpose. He had chosen not to humiliate, not to dominate, not to turn a lesson into a spectacle. The restraint was deliberate, controlled, complete. Jackie took a step forward without thinking, then stopped himself. His instincts, so quick moments earlier, felt clumsy now. He didn't know what the correct movement was anymore. Bruce glanced back at him. The look wasn't set cold. It wasn't set forgiving either. It was patient. That patience broke something open in Jackie. The last fragments of performance fell away. There was nothing left to defend, nothing left to show. He bowed, not quickly, not dramatically. Deep, traditional, unmistakable. I'm sorry, Jackie said quietly. Bruce inclined his head in response. Just slightly. No ceremony, no comfort, acceptance, and nothing more. The room exhaled. Work resumed, but not immediately. People moved again, yet carefully, as if sound itself needed permission. Someone adjusted a light, another picked up a cable. Conversations returned in fragments, subdued, Jackie remained where he was for a moment longer. His bow had not been strategic. It hadn't been about saving face. It came from somewhere lower, a place untouched by ambition. Bruce didn't linger. He picked up his notes, glanced once at the crew, and nodded for filming to continue. Just like that, the set returned to function. But Jackie didn't sit. Something inside him had shifted, quietly and permanently. The hunger to be seen had thinned. In its place sat something unfamiliar, a need to understand. When the scene wrapped later that day, Jackie approached Bruce again, slower this time. Carefully. He didn't speak at first. Neither did Bruce. Finally, Jackie bowed once more. Smaller, personal. Bruce looked at him for a long moment, then spoke softly. Come train sometime. Not a promise. Not an invitation for status. An opening. Jackie nodded. That was enough. The day ended the way film days always do, with equipment packed away and lights shut down one by one. By evening, the soundstage looked empty again. Ordinary. But Jackie left different. He didn't talk about the moment, didn't explain it, didn't turn it into a story. Some things lost their meaning when spoken too loudly. In the weeks that followed, he trained differently. Less display, more listening, less air, more ground. Bruce never mentioned that morning again. He didn't need to. Years later, when Jackie would be asked about skill, about confidence, about the difference between flash and mastery, he would pause before answering. Just briefly. Long enough for silence to do its work. 8 seconds. That was all it took. Not to break him, but to empty him. And in that emptiness, something real finally had room to grow.